or if it's like a retweet or whatever they call it now, you can't even get to it anymore. It's like it shows up and then it blinks and it's gone. I'm like, who wrote this thing? It doesn't, it's like you can still edit it before it goes live, but you can't see it. So good luck.
The Brazilian government can edit down there now.
Oh, Anthony.
Current event.
I didn't get to keep up on all that, so we'll have to cover in the current events. I read like a couple of posts, but I'm like,
yeah, same here.
The same old thing going on. Okay, then World Blockchain Roundtable DAO, WBRT DAO. Suggestion for May themes. So let's see here.
I haven't put any
Here it
in
is.
yet.
May theme suggestion. Show me what you got. What's this from?
I haven't put anything in yet.
What is this one from? Is this from? I recognize it. It's either what's his name and what's his name, or the one with the two animals. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, you just need to get in and make a post with your suggestion of themes, or maybe you reply. Right? Do you reply?
You reply. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Reply with your theme. We need to get some in here, don't we?
Yeah. It could even be a rehash of an old show,
Totally. And it can also be what do we call it?
Audible?
Audible.
Whatever. Well, it's like where you just
freeform.
Freeform, freestyle, whatever it is. Do whatever you want. And or you can already ask any blockchain related questions.
I think we should do something on, maybe I'll put a suggestion in, because like there's going to be we're coming into another bull run, I'm assuming. And all the scammers are going to come in. So like stay safe in a scammer's world,
Yeah. I'm on one project I know has already had a bunch of stuff happening. We haven't had anything directly, although I've gotten a ton more spam recently related to crypto, and I've gotten a ton more of the we'd like you to list on this exchange, and it's like sometimes I entertain it in terms of I give them the spiel. It's like, well, we don't pay for it. If you need something from me, tell me. And they're like, oh, but no, we don't do it for free.
We just want you to pay for it. Yeah.
Like, it's up to you. I don't care, right? You do whatever you want to do. Anyway, ton more of that. I'm talking a couple of those a day now. So, and I don't know how many of them are real anyway. Who knows? Also, theme of this week. So do we have anything before we get into the questions? You guys, what do you think?
I think we have tons of stuff for current events.
Okay, we'll just go quickly and then. Can blockchain create a new internet? And by the way, I think this could be taken from a lot of different angles, right? What specifically do you mean by creating a new internet, right? So first, I am in let's see here. Question: How can a decentralized DAO be used to build a parallel internet on a blockchain? How would its development and network get revenue for its build and maintenance? That's amazing. Great question. This would need to be not just a grassroots campaign, but a movement to build a parallel system. Show me the incentive and I will show the outcome. What's the incentive to build a new internet? Show me the money. Tokenization. Okay. Who wants to go first?
I can't answer this because I put up the question.
I think it's probably it's like a framing, and you can maybe even frame it a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, even your comment about Brazil is a great example of incentive
really good point.
To have freedom of speech. Right now, they also took away, or Biden's trying to sign something very unconstitutional to take away our guns, or to have now require all background checks to get rid of the gun show loophole, which I know that's a current event thing. But once again, like parallel systems, like stop swimming in that dirty pond. You know what I mean? Let's go swim in the ocean where it's clean, because these systems are so broken.
Yep. So yeah, what do you think?
Well, I guess I'll go first. something that's always worked for me, in management and in my entrepreneurial days was the incentive, both the user, the customer, as well as the employees, as well as the general public as large, need to be incentivized to use something that's new, or to jump on board or change their habit. If their habit is always going to Facebook, let's say, or Meta, whatever you want to call it, or X, Twitter, and that's their habit, you have to change that habit. So there has to be an incentive for that.
Yeah.
People, why is Bitcoin and Litecoin and all these other proof of work coins mined, is because there's an incentive to mine. It's not just, oh, I want to do the right thing, and I want to mine tokens or coins just for the public social good. People just don't do that way. They don't. We're unfortunately, that is not enough of an incentive to maintain that. Not for everyone anyway.
Yeah.
And so building a secondary internet is a really complex task. And how do you incentivize that build and incentivize the people to transition over to something different? And I think as we're seeing more censorship and more of us being like sheep being heard through this gate. Oh, go look over here. Go to the internet here. Go search here. Use Google, and Google becoming the ubiquitous term that everyone uses for search it up, right? So those little things need to change, and there's got to be an incentive. And when people are oppressed, that's a great incentive, right? When people can't find what they're looking for, that's a great incentive. Because they're going to go somewhere else. And unfortunately, a lot of it has to be tokenization or money. The whole technical mechanics of it, I'm just, that's not my wheelhouse. I couldn't answer that. I kind of have a broad base or broad strokes and ideas about it, but it would really take, I think, kind of a movement. Someone to jump on board to something and everyone kind of saying, yeah, that's what we need. And I don't know how we get there, but it is a costly, it's a huge lift.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's sometimes, at least in my opinion, it's sometimes useful to step back and think of things that you are impossible, right? That hey, this will never happen, or at least won't happen in my lifetime, or won't happen without bloodshed, right? Or something else that I don't expect, in other words, for this to happen. But if I were to have my way, this is one of the things we should experiment with. That one of the sad things about our current state of things, crypto and real world, I mean, non-crypto, I mean, just the fate of normal people that actually don't know what's been taken away or what has not been allowed, right? And that is, through our history, technology rises, something improves, and maybe there's a tax on it. There's it might disrupt industries. Candle makers were out because so they added scent, right? They did something else, right? But they weren't needed for light in a house anymore. Makers of lanterns and things like that. But for some reason, and I can tell you why, but I'll let you just kind of come to it on your own, maybe. For some reason, this technology has been radically suppressed, and not just. Similar things have happened, like with look at Edison and Tesla and some of the BS that happened related to that, because Westinghouse and other people with lots of money didn't want some new tech to come in. But guess what? AC current was better than DC, and it won out because it had to. They ended up cheating him out of a lot of things in the process and everything else. As they are cheating a lot of people with this out of that right now. And anyway, so the point being, email and spam could have been improved with this tech. Why? Because there is a value, and there's an economic consideration to an attack. Then, if you have the ability just to connect to any SMTP server and send a million spam emails, it doesn't cost you anything except for the bandwidth. You're going to do it. If all of a sudden it costs you, a hundredth of a penny or more to do that for every call, and or the ability for your message to be received would be entirely based on how much. That is the prioritization of my personal email to you, where I'm putting in a dime. And putting in a dime because I'm sending one email is fine. Putting in $1 is like, hey, I want this to be top of your list, and you get $1 out of it. Now you're going to use that dollar to send 50 cents to I Am for I Am to do to get to the top of his list, and all the spammers are way at the bottom because they're putting nothing in, or better, they're putting in dust, a hundredth of a cent or something like that, and it still costs them $100,000 to send however many billion of messages, and all of a sudden it's taken care of. So you think that would have been an amazing solution, and instead, blockchain didn't exist at this time, but when this was being solved, the solution ended up being a massive amount of high-end compute. And I say high-end, it was just able to find patterns of different spam, and it was a lot of work. And if anybody ran systems back then, you knew that that system, if you were running that on your own, was using up more CPU than all of your operational systems combined, just to detect spam. And so this is a more efficient solution, more organic, more understandable, everything else. And now when we apply it to other systems, and so you're talking about the internet itself and searches, right? If I wanted my search to, I could pay for it. And instead of advertising, I'm going to pay for it, but you know what I paid for it. And your evaluation of the result can say, no, that's spam, will essentially make my payment of, my high payment to get it ranked would be a big loss. So what would I do? I would want to provide better content, and I might put a little bit of money behind it, and everything, it gets mapped out. And that's how DEN sorts stuff as well. We know it works. It works more with more people. It works more with if you have certain kinds of value attached. So I'm thinking all of this stuff, when you're talking about, imagine beyond just that value. Imagine if the governance itself was DAO based. So now not only am I putting value in and pulling value out naturally, but I'm also able to help make the decisions. It isn't going to be up to some snob in an ivory tower in San Francisco or wherever they are. It would be up to all of the users of the system. And so you wouldn't have what we have right now, where Google broke itself, right? And why'd they break themselves? It's because they had to cave to political pressure. They had to cave to, well, I say political pressure related to propaganda and messaging, but also political pressure related to surveillance. I mean,
the loudest, smallest group got the controls of the levers.
Yeah. And the group with the unlimited money, by the way. So it's like, it's always that type of thing. And with a DAO, though, the money can be a factor for sure. But it's also not the only factor. Behavior can be plugged in as well, because all the history is on chain. And this person is usually always spot on. And if they're not this time, it's still okay, because there are other people. So anyway, I kind of look at it that way. And I just like in a beautiful and an elegant system. A search engine would be much more powerful if it's drawing in more sources, and if it's more transparent on how it's sorting them and all the rest of it. You just end up with a much more valuable result. I mean, everybody right now is moving to Yandex, right? Because they might actually give you a correct answer.
Well, honestly, I think that's almost done as well, because I think everyone is going to be moving to some form of AI, and AI is going to essentially replace Google, because Google didn't jump on that one fast enough or build it big enough.
It is, but that's going to make it, in my opinion, it's going to be worse because it's
I agree. It'll completely be worse.
Yeah, it's so much less transparent, and I guess that's what they want. They want people to say, "Oh, it's always right about this and this and this and this," and when it's lying to them about this other thing, then it's like, well, it's like that must be the truth then, right?
Right.
So,
but the internet is supposed to be decentralized, so it would make sense that a new internet or a parallel system of an internet would have a DAO, right?
Yes.
That's why it had that image there. That would make sense. The other part of it is the driving force. What is it? How's that term go? Culture drives politics, or politics, something like that. Culture precedes politics. And hey, Sean. And if that's true,
good morning, sunshine.
Good morning.
Everyone's friend, Satoshi Sean.
Sean, you need some coffee, like a coffee IV or something. No, I'm just kidding.
What do you think of DAOs, Sean, and the internet? What should the new internet have its own DAO or multiple DAOs or things like that?
Should the internet have its own DAO? Wow.
A new internet.
Yeah, the new internet. Here, I'll go to the top. This is the can blockchain create a new internet? And if you aren't ready for it, it's full good. It was just perfectly right in order. Your turn was ready, right at hand.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Or I think maybe better separated into more geographic locations, like by like several DAOs by maybe continents at the best.
Good point.
That leads to another question I've always had. I always thought we might be able to move to what I tried to call indie states. That is, instead of having a state, it was I'm my own state, and I can issue my own currency, and I can pay my gardener in Joe coin, and my gardener then could trade the Joe coin or with to buy eggs or something, and and Joe, if I produce too many, then Joe coin wouldn't be worth very much, but that would be in payment. And the reasoning would be that why do I have to observe or obey laws because of my geography, where I happen to live? Shouldn't I be able to? It's like, yeah, okay, I live here, but I believe in this, and I'm going to follow these rules. Is that even a possibility? I hadn't thought about doing it DOPS way and just say, nope, you live in the Plain States, and therefore that's the DAO that you're in, and a North American DAO.
You could. I mean, the Amish do it. They use those what is it called? Dowry bars or something like that. There's some name for this kind of gold bars that they use to exchange with each other.
Really?
And so they have like their own system or form of money. Yeah. So there's no reason we couldn't do that.
Breaking news. O.J. Simpson just passed away from cancer, age 76.
Yeah, we
died a free man, and in my opinion, a guilty man.
Yeah, a guilty free man. Often the case, often the opposite as well.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yep. Let's go next question. We can recover that and see what everybody thinks and your experience. What did you watch to come in the current events and memes section of the show? Did you watch the trial when you were younger? Okay, Operation Choke Point. I am. In my opinion, we're seeing censorship on the rise by governments and big tech around the world. The choke point are ISPs, or internet service providers. I believe this is where they will begin targeting more and more each day. Question: how could a new and young blockchain-based internet be built in such a way that it would not fall victim to this type of choke point, its own on-ramp? Who wants to go first?
I mean, I can kick off. I'm already having some banking issues. And my local bank's telling me that they don't know why I can't use Zelle, and they don't understand and all this. And so I think you'd have to be really careful with the KYC. It'd have to be a thing where people could be anonymous in their identity to be able to exchange value with people. Because, I mean, if I'm assuming everybody knows what Operation Choke Point is that's watching this, but it's really it. And there was Joe was talking right before we got started, which probably is another current events thing, but the O'Keefe got that CIA guy to admit that they entrap people basically, and then their goal was to break them financially and destroy them so that they wouldn't be able to have a voice in the world and whatever. And so if you know they're openly doing that, then how do you allow people to have their freedom of speech, their voice? We're seeing all of the Constitution be attacked, whether it's freedom of speech or Second Amendment rights now that Biden's trying to go after. So that would be my biggest concern. It would be that on-ramp, that KYC.
Mm-hmm. I think that's where it's going, right? There's been a lot of talk about everyone should. Well, who was it? Nikki Haley said everyone should dox themselves to join the internet. That's the
Haley.
ISP choke point.
Nikki Haley, even it's like not even her real name. Running for president. And anyway, that ISP choke point, is where everyone's going to jump on. So this, I guess, is more of a technical question. I don't know the answer to this question, but a second internet, however it's constructed and however it's built, if blockchain is used or not used or part of the solution, that on-ramp is critical, because that's where government can just flip and turn you off. Has anyone ever seen a site that this site has been taken over by the FBI? When you go, you type in the URL and boom, it pops up with the FBI, bureau's logo and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
They can do that. They can. Now they're more covert. They take control of the big tech. And but so I don't know. I guess it's more of a technical question. I don't know how we create a parallel system that doesn't have that type of choke point.
I don't know if it can be built now. Like you said, because the government has taken so much control over the internet. So to create something, I mean, you look at Dragon Chain, as soon as they're actually doing something. They're not just, talking about let's, number go up or let's make some money or, yeah. So it's, I don't know. It makes me, reminds me when I was a kid and went to Austin with this girl that I was dating. And it was midnight, something like that. And she's like, hey, let's go to the Capitol. And I thought, we're just going to go look at this because it's a really cool Capitol building in Texas. So we went and she's like, okay, let's go in. I'm like, it's midnight. She goes, yeah. So we went in the Capitol and there was no one there. It was just empty. It was, this all marble and everything you would expect from going into the, Capitol building. It was everyone's offices with their name. And we walked all around yelling. And I was making everything echo. And it was like from a movie, like in Mannequin when they're running around the store. We're running around the store.
The Mannequin reference I didn't expect.
It was like we just had free reign over everything. And I was like, well, why aren't there cops here? How are we doing this? She goes, because we're Americans. We're Texans. This is our house. We pay for this. Of course we can just come here. Not nowhere near that now. There's certain hours. There's always the state troopers there. You can't go in. It's a completely different thing. And that was 25 years ago that, it was like that. I remember when it changed, and like, oh, the Capitol has powers. We're going to lock the doors.
Yeah.
And people were like, you can't lock the doors. It's our house. We can decide when we lock it. And it was like such a big deal. Now that's not. Everyone has this mentality of like, is that actually legal? Can you do that? Can we do that? It's like we should check with, our overlords to make sure we could do that. We can't just do that.
Are we allowed?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to be allowed to access the internet.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The ISP gave me the blessing. I can log on today.
Mhm.
That's hilarious. I would say identity is an important thing, right? That there are ways to avoid doxing yourselves. To do something like this, I probably would have to say that at some point everybody's going to realize that we need a fully anonymous internet, and maybe that's more important. That you could expose to some level, but imagine if it was a cultural. Let's just do pure sci-fi. Just imagine whether it's a story or movie or reality, doesn't matter, where you are not allowed to identify yourself, right? And how interesting that would be, because frankly, I've come to the realization that there are so many things that are censored or cancelable speech that people don't speak their own mind. And if you read, go back, just for shits and grins, go back and read 1984. I read it. I've not read it probably for 6 or 8 years, something like that. But I did read it a while back. I read it originally in 8th grade for a book report in 1984.
Nice.
Right. And so everybody I tell is like, you didn't read it in 94, like whatever. It's like, but go back and read it. It's probably the more interesting thing to me now is the fact that the very beginning is very explicitly about the definition of newspeak, which is the definition of language to remove concepts which they don't want thought, right? And
Freedom fighters.
yeah, and then the whole thing about newspeak is that you essentially streamline the language to a point where it's nearly impossible to think traitorous thoughts, right? The thoughts that in our lives are, in our real world are, the things that will get you canceled. Oh, you can't bring up this, you can't bring up that. And it's not just that it'll upset someone, it's that you'll get banned, you'll lose your account, you'll lose your voice. And so people don't do it, right? Which is the training for all of the NPCs out there, or for all the people. It's training it's like, don't talk about that stuff. And then I'm not going to talk about it at the dinner table. I'm not going to talk about it with friends or at lunch at work or anything. And pretty soon, those words are gone. Those concepts are impossible to consider. And you can look up, like I've talked about this before too. Language is so interesting that concepts for which words do not exist are almost impossible to think naturally, because there's no way to communicate those with someone else. And they know this, the fact that the color blue didn't exist in the distant past. It was called sea green or something else. Blue as a word didn't exist. And so you can look it up, and it's weird. And there are tons of things like that. Some languages don't have concepts of the future. Some don't have concepts of directional words, like you can't say left or right. And therefore they have no way to think those concepts. And with technology, it's super interesting because it's already, you have to think of new words or new ways to combine old words to express an idea. And it's hard. I tell you, it is freaking hard to get those ideas out there. And all different strategies. So I do think that has a lot to do with this, that the censorship and everything else. And anonymous action, anonymous speech is one of the most powerful things. Probably next to memes, it might be the most powerful thing out there, I do think an anon is going to save the world. I just wish we could vote for him for president or something, right? That, you know, I think that's what's going to save us, frankly, is anonymous postings of memes. That's what's, because there's no way around it. They can't defeat that combination. It scares the hell out of them, right?
Well, also, I mean, when it comes to that, you can't argue with the fact that anonymous posting is see, I don't want to use the word bad, but it is controversial, hurtful, you know, because people are terrible. And people will say and do things that are much more horrific if they know they're anonymous. You know, they're not going to go after someone or put someone down if they're doxxed. That was Nikki Haley's whole point, which is true. But I think we've got to the point where people have just thrown it away that there's bad things that come with freedom. You know, you have certain trade-offs.
Yeah.
And once again, our forefathers, you know, said if you'll give up, you know, your freedoms for more security or for more whatever, then you don't deserve either.
Yep.
So that's the anonymous thing. It's the language thing. I mean, I've always been harping on the Democratic instead of Democrat, and it's gotten so bad. They're not even the Democrat Party anymore. They're the Democratic Party. It's not a joke. Everything they don't even use the word Democrat anymore, even when it sounds stupid to say Democratic. They call it the Democratic Party.
I'll say there's no purpose. And by the way, that's another, all of the divide and conquer stuff. Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals. Oh, you know, then you get into right wingers, left wingers, capitalists. None of it makes a damn bit of sense, because I'm now, I think a lot of people have come to this, that what we've been trained to think is, oh, that's capitalism, of course we like it, or that's democracy, we want more democracy, right? Is all bullshit. The capitalists are actually just communists. I guess the people advocating for democracy in various places in the world aren't really advocating for the control of the demos of the people. They're advocating for the control of, you know, us. We control them, and they're voting, and they voted the right guy in, so they're okay, right? Well, how do we know they voted the right guy in? He supports their central bank. That's all that freaking matters. And so that's what everything is. And so the whole Democrat Republican thing is total BS. I'll never vote that way again. I'll never vote again, probably. But we have to somehow figure that out. It's anytime there is presented to you a binary choice, you should be suspect, because there's something up. They're wanting you. They're going to funnel you into this group or funnel you into that group, so that they can then control whatever they're actually doing behind the scenes. So anyway,
Agreed.
It's all evil.
Yeah. Going back to the question, though, I just don't know. I don't know how you control that on ramp. I don't know.
I think about Fight Club, which if you haven't watched that, go watch it. Because I watched it as a kid, and it was completely different when I watched it a couple of years ago.
I want to watch it again.
As an adult, you know.
Yeah.
And I felt this way before I watched the movie. I got this disdain for pandas, you know, because like people were trying to force them and save them, and they were doing everything because they're cute. It's not like, you know, where they were hunted or whatever, but they were dying, and they wouldn't screw each other to save their own, you know,
their own species.
Their own species. They didn't care.
Sounds like the West.
Yeah, I'm like, let them die, man. Those pieces of shit, let them die. If they don't want to, but look at everything that everyone's doing. You know, it's like communists and capitalists and everything fell away for the pandas. Everyone's like, we got to save the pandas. And I'm like, what a bunch of shits. They don't care. And I think more people need to do what you did. They're disenfranchised. Screw it. I'm not going to vote. But there's so many, everything is owned. Like, you know, people pay for buses to go around and pick everyone up from the senior center and take them down to, you know, the voting thing. And it's like, they control the vote. You know, they go pick up the senior center and they talk, over the speaker on the bus, and you should really vote for this person. Blah 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 blah. They're going to help you out. They're all for Medicaid and they love old people. Or they go into the project areas and pick people up there and like, this party really wants to fix up your project and blah blah blah, and it's all a scam. So I think you shouldn't help anyone vote. It should be more difficult to vote. You should have to want to vote.
Yeah.
You should have to have an ID. You should have to do whatever. It's like you have to want it.
Well, and if you had something to lose if you don't vote, if there was the weight, the weight of the vote, or if you had to contribute something to be able to vote. It used to be that you had to be a landowner to be able to vote, and now it's just any warm body.
I mean, I will say,
you contribute, just at least you have to try. You have to want. You have to get a ride to the polls. You have to walk to the polls. It's just something, because now it's literally, it's like the Matrix. People are they're used for their vote instead of being used for their electricity.
That's true, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well, and it is their whatever you. And I'm no expert on this stuff, but the fact that you have a social security number or that you're a citizen means that you're plugged in somewhere that ties into the production of that money supply that doesn't ever actually benefit you, but it loops back through to your representatives and stuff via Ukraine or Israel or wherever the hell else they're sending the money today. But one thing you could do, and I don't think there is law right now or justice at least in the West or in our world, but that there's definitely law, but it's there's not. The law is not what you think it is. It does not mean what it says it means. That there are, between the lines, whatever you want to call it, there are some intricate pathway to the law that they want to apply to you or to themselves or their family, right? So whatever it is, it's all pretty well fake. But if it were real, that would be probably the answer to this. Per every community. So. Given the fact that ISPs tend to be monopolies because you have to run the copper or run the fiber or whatever else. Now there are some cases like Starlink and things like that, which would mean that you don't maybe have a monopoly. You might have some choice there, but if they would be transparent about it, that would be one on the positive side. But on the other side, it could be okay. We're going to grant you a monopoly, but in our community, you cannot silence. We're losing everybody. You cannot silence everybody, or you cannot silence anyone for political reasons or free speech. That you as long as someone's paying, you have to give them access, or else you're not going to have a monopoly here. I mean, that's the thing that's sorely missing. That should be there because.
And then if somebody's saying a message that you don't want to hear, you can use your, what do they call it? Your freedom finger. Somebody said that the other day. Use your freedom finger and swipe. And get out.
I know in Kansas City they let me think here. Wait, I take that back. Long story, but when I was in Seattle, Seattle City Commission, I guess, got all ramped up about Google. And back before Google was what they are now, they complained and didn't let the city have that early fiber because of politics. And, at the time, Google was better than any of the alternatives, especially at that time, it was very, in my opinion, objectively arranged that you could, you could read their terms. They were clear cut. They were modern and fresh, and they weren't trying to trick you like the phone carriers were, for example, right? So anyway, interesting stuff. So
Sean, you described my next perfect career job. I'm going to be a senior citizen bus driver with a microphone, maybe a megaphone, and only on election day.
There you go.
Got 2 senior citizen buses and a microphone.
You only have to work one day
Yes.
every 4 years. Yeah, perfect.
Right on. Beck references. Let's see here. Next question from Mr. Four. Quattro. Could Tor or IPFS be integrated with a blockchain in order to create a parallel internet? How would you tokenize it to pay network providers for bandwidth, network processing, and storage? It's a great
Isn't that what Theta does?
I don't know.
Theta is a shared bandwidth program. There's wallets in. I've gone with the partnerships with Sony, Samsung. They've got some really big partnerships. Some people say there's already wallets in some of the devices. They just haven't like engaged them or whatever. And then you share your bandwidth that you're not using, and you get reimbursed for sharing your bandwidth for.
You know, I'm talking to this guy about advising on his project. I had I don't know if you remember this project called MetaHash, and it was years ago, and they were trying to make it a new internet, and they were doing pretty decent. This guy was one of the biggest contributors and developers on it back then, and people just didn't. It started to have some momentum, and then it kind of died out with the bear. But it was a solid idea, and now if you remember Unstoppable Domains, when they kind of blew up, he kept throwing his money into this project, and he wasn't like a member of the team or anything, but he was like doing the most development on it on this new internet, and so he's created he's these new hashtag domains. But everything he's talking about, I'm like, oh, you're kind of building a new ecosystem, like a whole, the new Web3 internet. It's like, well, yeah, kind of. That's the end goal. So I think it can be done. But it's what was the question? Can you put the question back up? Because I'm trying to.
Yes.
It has to be more simple for people to get into it. Like when people hear the word Tor, if they don't know what it is, then when you explain it to them, they're gonna be like, "Oh my god," because regular people are like, "Oh, I know about that weird onion, and I don't get that stuff, man." It has to be which is what we need. In one of the next shows we're doing is how to get grandma to use, blockchain.
That's next week, and I'm gonna have my mom join us. Yeah,
it needs to kind of go hand in hand with that, because I think mainly people are so untech savvy. That's not really a word, but that they don't know the possibilities. And especially with the crypto mixed with blockchain and NFTs and Logan Paul, it's just, oh, that's a fad, that's a scam. When is that going to be over with? I know a lot of like smart people, the smartest people I know are so down and have been for like the past year, because they're like, they saw it fail. They're like, oh, look, so much potential, and it died. People don't care about it. And they're because of a lot of scam projects, never go up things that were just and I think that's probably by design, because the SEC is like, oh no, they have plenty of rope to hang themselves, that's gonna be fine.
No, you can't get the book before I show the book. You're gonna show the book, aren't you, Joe?
Yeah, by design.
Yes,
right? That's what that is. I mean, it's like exactly what you're saying. I haven't even got to start reading it yet, but I lived it. This is just going to give me some details and probably refresh memory.
That's what
I'm
it did
going
for
to be
me.
Depressed for a week or a month or something.
Sean nailed it.
It's smart,
he described the book perfectly.
It's smart because the powers that be are like, oh, we don't need to worry about them. They're idiots. and they're going to do our job for us. We need to focus on shutting these people down because they have momentum.
Make sure you
power.
make sure you leave up what was it, BitConnect, and make sure you leave up
BitConnect,
FTX. Let's make
FTX.
some deals with FTX. Hell, let's replace everything with Celsius. Let's do all of these things,
off chain.
Yeah, and
Centralized.
I don't know. By the way, I mean, the funny thing is, I totally agree about the fact it can't be Tor and IPFS, and and it wouldn't be. By the way, anything that will take off is not going to be heavily geeky titling and stuff. I remember working in a record store when I was younger, and how surprising it was the first time that this would have been later 90s, maybe mid 90s maybe, that one of my friends who was kind of a jock back in high school, I found out was actually on the internet. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? It's like, no way. He's like, oh yeah, it's like this is cool and that's cool. And I'm like, damn, and I can't remember what he was using. But maybe we need the Onion router online, and we just need to send discs to send NFTs to every household or something, so they can join the anonymous network.
That's interesting, because the reason why
like the AOL.
Yeah, the reason why the internet blew up is because you remember the AOL discs?
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
They're everywhere.
You'd get a magazine and like 4 would drop out of it. You'd open a carton of eggs. And there's this disc in my eggs. They were everywhere.
The prize in a cereal box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not like a joke that we're in cereal boxes. I mean, younger people don't get it, but that was forced down everyone's throat. Yep. I mean, you get like what? That's not being silly. Like what? 15 discs a month in your regular life. It was everywhere.
Yep.
I
had a 400 baud modem, and when I remember I bought something in between. Then I finally at one point got that 28. I think it's 28.8K that had a boost on it. And I mean, it was just a crazy world back then.
I remember the first time I had no clue like how much potential there was. And I was financial advisor. I was over at a client's house. And do Hast by Rammstein? It was I like that song. And I said something about it. He goes, "Oh, but I have to buy the CD because I like the one song." Remember how life used to be like that? Mm-hmm. You had to buy an entire album if you liked the song that was out, that was popular. And he's like, "Oh," and he played it. He's like, "Oh, I have that on my computer." I'm like, "You have music on your computer?" And he played it, and it was so clear and so cool. And there was like a little like hiccup, a little like just you couldn't even really hear the something messed up. And his wife was like, "Isn't that digital? What was that?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I bumped the computer." So, and I was like, they were freaked out because there was this little minute thing for a half a second, and they're like, "No, it's digital. It's perfect." And then he's like, "What's your email? I'll email you the song." Like, I get the song for free, and he sent me the song, and I was like, "Oh my, whoa, this is This is Logan's Run kind of stuff, man. What the heck?"
Just man, I'm right now at FBI.gov. Like what's a minute here? I'm like, sorry.
But that's what really kind of opened me up. Man, I bought my first computer, had it built. The dude who's also one of my clients, like, "Now look, man, you can get this 1/4 gig hard drive, which will be fine, but I think you should spring the extra $150. Get the 1/2 gig modem. That way you're not going to fill that sucker up. It'll run a lot better. You should go spring for the extra money and get this 1/2 gig hard drive." I was like, "Okay, yeah, 1/2 gig. That's sure." 1/2 gig. That was my first, and it was the 286s and the 386s were coming out. I remember the Mission Impossible. And he's like, "Are these the new government prototype 486s?" It moved so fast,
2 megs of RAM.
That's awesome. For some reason, the government didn't really step in there and say, "Wait a minute, you guys, what you might use this for something." They didn't do that. Why'd they not do that?
They
I
did
know
that.
why.
They did that though. But
They didn't. They did it if it was the music industry being threatened. Yes, that was
when
only
they started talking
NASCAR and
about
shit.
they started talking about
Um,
the cable companies and the internet companies and controlling part of it, and people were like,
oh yeah,
"No, you shouldn't step in." It's like, no, the
but
kids.
they didn't stop it. In fact, remember early internet. Here's the degree to which this is crazy. Early internet was so supported by the federal government, US at the time, that they didn't charge interstate tax if you bought something on the internet. That's how you know the difference, because that would be, it's like, oh, we aren't going to take taxes. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's see how this goes. And guess what happened? The trillions of dollars of value was created by just not doing that one thing. Then they stepped in and it's like, no, we have to. And Amazon fought it until they realized they could make money off of it, and then they just flipped and just supported it and went with they lobbied and everything. Crazy shit.
We screwed up. We should have invited the inventor of the internet, Al Gore. He should have been on the show today.
I don't know if he's available.
And
I don't think
he could have told us how to
my
create the internet 2.0.
messages.
He's saving the polar ice cap.
Yes.
He's more obsessed with Man Bear Pig right now.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, we'll go to next question from Guess Who. Question: how does helium blockchain work, and can it create a new internet? What works and doesn't work well with helium? Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. I think its incentives to build such a network via mining was an excellent idea. I do agree. How else do you provide incentives for both the users and the network builders? What do you guys think?
What about helium?
Helium has a lot of problems, but they're getting better. What's cool about it is I believe it is truly decentralized, because for a while there, like when you had like a hiccup, you had to go into the community, the Discord thing, which I hate, and the community was fixing the network and solving problems together and all of that. So it wasn't a company that was doing the work. So
that's cool.
I really like that. And I like that they're using it's another bandwidth sharing kind of thing. So it's communication, but they use like radio waves, which it's my understanding you can send crypto over radio waves as well. So, if we had enough of these helium miners, then you could bounce them from place to place. I also like that they have like a geofencing thing. So like you are, depending on where maybe I'm using the wrong term, but depending on where your miner is, like you don't want to be physically in a location where it's highly saturated with other miners. So
the geographic incentive, so that essentially they want people to be spread out there. They want coverage. So if there's already a lot here, sure, you can still join, but you won't make as much as if you joined over there where we need, that's very,
they strategize it to where you're incentivized for it to be more physically distributed evenly as well, which I thought was really smart.
That's me. Yeah.
Y'all remember there was a project came out and they used like like radio waves to send Bitcoin. I remember like Brecky and Crypto Stash, they were on the beach and they sent stuff to each other. They were like miles apart, and it was not, because that was the whole. There was that was the thing for a while. It's like, what if the internet goes down? Your money's no good. You can't use it. Nothing can go anywhere.
Yeah.
and then that's when they're like, you can send it by radio waves.
Yeah.
And
you can do internet that way too, like even standard Google searches, email. You can do email over ham radio. You can do a lot of and there's a project that I've not paid attention to yet, but I mean, I used to be a big time Linux advocate, and there was a project on software radio that was, I think it's a GNU project. I know it was at least open source, but they even way back on Linux demonstrated that you could do full HD content over a radio protocol.
Whoa.
So you could do some crazy stuff, and which means that any of this stuff could operate over that. And I don't know what's been developed there. I'm sure someone's built a plugin that would allow crypto over software radio.
Of course, the FCC is going to step in and say, "Hey, that frequency you're using, you gotta bid to be able to use that frequency."
Yeah. Well, and that's a question of societal. Where are
Right.
we at? Like, say if this is after shit hits the fan, and the FCC isn't really manned to say, "Oh, you know what, you guys can't. I'm going to send someone to your house if you, if you talk on this frequency." Right now they could can it really quick if they don't want it. And I don't know any. That's all scary, crazy stuff to me. I've looked into it a couple of times just because, like, how does that work? But I can't pretend to understand it.
My son, I know, mined helium. He still might be doing just that. And I know, it had a really good idea too for IoT, for machine communications. And the next kind of in other words, to kind of lay out the network for IoT and then graduate into more of an internet. I think it still holds promise. I like what they were doing. I know there was a price collapse. There was, typical the human frailty of greed getting involved and mucking up the works, shall we say?
Does it use existing, like, say if you're plugged in, I've assumed that you do like 5G, is that right? And then
that's what I understand.
connect, but then it's still going to be connected to your ISP, right? So it's still on the other backbone. Right?
There's a portion of it that's still on the backbone. That's correct.
Yeah.
But as far as IoT, like connecting, devices from IoT to IoT to, because a lot of IoT devices, they don't upload information data that daily or hourly. A lot of them might just do once a month update. Hey, this machine ran for 10,300 hours, and then next month this machine ran for 10,522 hours.
Firmware updates.
So they just update
like
once a day or once a month or once a week. And IoT devices and that's what it was plugged into, was to monitor all the IoT in your geographical zone or area, like Lisa was talking about, and gather that information. And I think it's kind of daisy chained, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through all of them.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Which essentially is what our topography is for the internet. It's going from server to server, right?
Yeah. Yep. It bounces. And I mean, there's also MeshNet that you can do, that I've seen a couple of cases where they've done it, like with the when the Hong Kong protests were going on, there was some MeshNet stuff that was really cool happening, where it was, they were all able to connect to each other without any infrastructure connections. Pretty cool.
I miss Dave. Dave would have a lot to say on this topic.
Yeah. It's just a tour.
Moment of silence. I'm joking. Where's Dave been? Why is Dave not here?
So, and with the helium, one way to decentralize it, or would this decentralize it, would be like, instead of being piggybacked on our own, what did you call it, ISP or whatever, the Wi-Fi thing? Could it be backed by Starlink or multiple satellite systems?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, if you had multiple, it used to be a thing. Very rare, but where people might have multiple lines. So when you had dial-up internet, if you had 2 or 3 lines, you could actually connect them and have a faster connection. So you could do something similar if you had Starlink and your local ISP and your maybe secondary local ISP, because sometimes you'll have some telco that also offers, right?
Okay.
And if you had if it was a requirement for fail-safe operations or something, you would at least want them all there in case one of them goes down. I have Starlink in case my local ISP, somebody cuts the line or something stupid. And yet you can, in the meantime, always, at least theoretically, and if you know enough about networking, it's not even that hard to do anymore, that you would be able to increase your throughput, your speed of connection, right? So
Hmm.
anyway,
That says one thing. A new internet, a new parallel system that runs parallel to our current existing internet would have to grow very quickly, very fast, because when it's young in its infancy, that's when governments could stamp it out, crush
It
it.
would almost have to be an app on your phone, but then you face all the stuff with the monopolies that are the app stores, right? And them being able to shut it down. So it'd
Yeah.
have to be one.
we need
APK file.
There's
improvement
one.
across the board.
There's one that I was listening to a program, and they were talking about how like WeChat in China is the everything app, and it doesn't work on Apple, I guess. And so most people in China are not motivated to buy the iPhones because they use WeChat for everything, for exchanging money with each other, communicating, all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
And so that's where I guess they use like more Android phones. So
And that's a decision at the top to censor, right, Lisa? They're censoring, saying, "Hey, we don't want you to use Apple. We want you to use our devices."
Well,
So
maybe
they put it in the code.
Well, I mean, if you've looked at Android market share, I mean, right now is a 70% market share worldwide. So in most industries, that would be considered it's the only game. That iPhone would be laughed out of the room if you said, "I'm going to make a new app and it's going to be cool and I'm going to put it on iPhone." And in any other industry, your VCs would laugh you out the room. It's like, why the hell are you going to not service 70% of the freaking market? And yet somehow all the VCs want you to make your iPhone first. They don't want Android at all, and it's ridiculous. And it's been that way for years, and it's stupid. But
is that because the US is like, I can't remember the numbers. They were talking about the numbers. Like the US is mostly captive by iPhone.
no,
It's a
it's
little more
not
than
even
50%
there.
now.
No, I thought they said
No,
it hasn't been for years.
iPhone's a little more than 50% now from the last I saw.
okay.
It's 60.77%. And it's been that way for years, by the way. It's been over 50% for years, and still they're like, "Oh, we have," and it's because what they have. It's what they have. It's all they know. It's pathetic. Whatever. Anyway, we are now, and hopefully Sean comes back. We lost him. We are now ready for the I guess
Current events.
current events and memes. So what current events do we want to cover? Do you want me to play any videos on that first, or what do you want to do?
I put the OJ video in the
Yeah.
WBRT layer. I have not watched it yet, but
Oh boy.
apparently he says I've never seen that much blood.
Yikes. Okay, I need to let me unshare so
Yeah.
that I can share with audio, and then I will do that. Let's see here. Share with audio, and we will add it here. So, okay, let me pause it, rewind it. Okay, turn on it. Tell me if you can't hear it right away, and I'll restart it.
Oh,
Right.
I don't know. Is this the one?
Finished filming, OJ said
I
to
can
me
hear.
that he had a surprise for me, and I genuinely was surprised. I think it was his idea of a joke, and this is it. After we finished filming,
Anyway, that's a little weird. That's a little weird,
Wow.
right? Anyway,
Wow. So
he passed away of cancer. Is this correct? What kind of
Cancer,
cancer?
from what I
Does
read.
anybody know what kind of cancer?
No, I didn't.
I
I
didn't
didn't go that far into it.
Okay.
may he rest in hell.
There you go.
Okay, so on that,
Cool.
how many of you remember the trial? How many
Which
watched the trial? Did you
trial?
watch the whole trial?
Which-
The original one, the trial of the century. Right?
Yes, the trial of the century,
Yeah.
whenever it took place.
I watched the whole thing. I was in college at the time, and I would come home from, and I'd have these breaks, and I'd watch it and do homework, and then go back into class and come back.
It was weird with my I'll never forget it because my first set of twins' birthday, and we were at my in-laws were having a big birthday party, and that's when they raided him and they had the white Bronco chase,
Yes.
and we're all just like, glued to the TV. So every time it's their birthday, it always comes back up, and then in the news they talk about it.
Wow,
Yeah.
man. I don't know. That was a very
You must
crazy thing.
quit.
Wow, that's right. If the glove don't, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Wow. And he inspired the what's the character on Seinfeld, the attorney. It was inspired fully by
Yeah.
Cochran. It was
Yeah.
Cochran,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Kramer's attorney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
I remember.
Did I tell you to put the bomb on? Why did you put the bomb on? I didn't tell you to put the bomb on.
Oh my gosh.
We were in Austin, and this guy walked by, and I was like, "Is that Kato Kalin?" My nephew, both, like my two of my kids were there. They're like, "Who?" Kato Kalin. I had to explain, like, he's famous because he was a dude hanging out in OJ's house when they raided it. He was like,
no, he was his tenant. He was renting the extra, the guest,
the pool
guest
house or whatever.
Yeah, he was living in the pool house. And then it was him, and we like hung out and stuff. I think he's gay because, man, he was all over my nephew like crazy.
What?
Yeah, it was at a con, and he was the MC of the con, and he would keep bringing my nephew up and like, "Hey, where's Tony at?" And then and my nephew's an idiot. He was like a complete idiot, and I definitely got culture. And he's like, "Okay, we're doing this giveaway. Just come up here. You and he, how about you, Tony? You come up here." So, and then he goes up there, and he couldn't answer one question about like Star Wars and stuff. And then and he was like, this girl was answering everything correct. He's like, "Shut up, bitch." He would give like it was Spider-Man's aunt's name, and he's like, Auntie Spider-Man, and he's like, no, and then he even said, "It's a month." I mean, he's giving hints. The woman got really pissed. She's like, "Why are you giving him hints?" He's like, "Shut up, bitch." And he was like, and he goes, "Jude." He couldn't, but I think he was very, very gay. The money, go back to the money one.
Oh,
okay. I don't have any money, but have you seen the dollar and Satan on it? This is like been around for a while, but on the dollar, if you fold it in half,
it looks like a lizard person or whatever.
A lizard person, right?
Alien.
It looks just like a reptile or reptilian. Then underneath the reptilian is a little Satan.
Oh,
it's very
imagine
weird.
That. Is it a surprise to anybody? If it's even whatever, you could probably, I can fold a picture of anything and make whatever. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. It's just too much crazy shit on those dollars.
So that Mad Magazine thing, we used to fold the back page.
Yep. We all miss Mad Magazine.
I miss Mad.
Yeah. Did you ever fold them? I would never fold them. I would kind of bend them. But we didn't want to fold them. I'd like bend them to see, oh, that's what that is.
You don't want to damage it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh man, I'm rolling through the memes. I've already skipped a few that were offensive. All right, but none like this. This one's not offensive, right? So,
we haven't met since the big Nothing Burger eclipse. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I was so disappointed. I mean, I thought the eclipse was going to be the end of the world, and the next morning I woke up, I was ready for the end of the world. It didn't happen, so now I have to watch all this political BS continue.
I know.
It keeps going on.
I thought I was going to be done. Witness the end of the world. It's so disappointing.
Maybe the beginning of the world. I was hoping. I'm still hoping for the collapse, and I don't think it's the end. I think it's the beginning. Right.
I agree.
So it's coming. It's coming, but it's not. And I think you have to understand too. Things like a solar eclipse do not signify an exact timestamp of when. It's not like you're watching Kubrick movie, and all of the planets are aligned, and that's when this happened. it's something similar. It's like you don't know when those planets align, but the monkeys ended up seeing the obelisk, and they ended up doing, getting the ideas, and doesn't happen right exactly when you think it will.
There's something I thought was weird. It's I'm sure it talks about it, but Demo Ranch, and Off the Ranch, huge gun YouTuber, and he outside of Austin, he bought this abandoned mansion, and then he rebuilt the mansion for him and his family, and it's like, but he's built it, it's done, So he's like, what am I going to do? And then he's going to buy a resort and build a resort. So he's done it, and it's called the Desperado Resort. He's not done it, but he's doing it. And he said for the eclipse, wanted people to come out. It's on the Guadalupe River outside Austin, and they had like 100% sellout turnout. People came out in tents and campers, and it was pretty cool. But when he was doing the video, it got dark. You remember it got really dark. Here it did. Like, beyond dusk, it was actually dark. And he's like, oh, I want to run down to the river and see if the frogs are out, because they never come out during the day, and they were. It was like all the animals. It was about 4 or 5 minutes of darkness, 3 of them, and literally all the nocturnal animals was like they were out, even though it was 1:30 in the afternoon. I thought it was very interesting when it comes to like the lower life forms, how much they are affected.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to see, it get dark and the street lights come on, and it was really bizarre. Actually, it was
So
unique.
I want to know what's coming next on the Grimes tablet, right? So if the eclipse is on there, it has the jab right in. It has that on there. So
What
there's
is
some stuff
this?
coming.
The
Their dragon
Grimes
is coming next, by the way, just so you know. It's the Year of the Dragon is on
What
there.
what is this?
That's Grimes. She I think it's her supposedly related to songs on the album that was released, but a bunch of the things lined up with political events, and people are like, what the hell? So bunch of crazy stuff, but the jabs are on there. Just look it up. And the eclipse is on there for sure. There are dragons on there, and a few other things that I don't remember what they were, but it's just one of those things.
And it's called the Grimes tablet.
Yeah, Grimes tablet.
I've never heard of this.
Gosh, what else? My eclipse. I mean, we had a clear day. We'd only had like 95% or something here, Kansas City area, but it was a beautiful day. It was clear. It wasn't too. It was warm, and then during the eclipse, it got really pretty cool. It was kind of neat.
Yeah, it dropped or it was supposed to drop like 15%. 15.
Yeah. And then the birds were kind of doing different stuff, and it was interesting, right?
It was a bust. Yeah, it was kind of a bust for me because it was cloudy, so we were fighting to see it through the clouds. My son was going to come up, but then he got sick and he couldn't make it. So it was kind of one of those. I was hoping maybe I'd go up north and see Dave, because I know he and his wife are flying out to Texas.
That's
Unfortunately, it was cloudy. And so it was just turned out to be a kind of a bust because I couldn't coordinate with anything. And it was cloudy. So
I thought the temperature thing was really cool.
Yeah.
Because I noticed it, and I'm like, you feel how much cooler it is? And my son's like, yeah, it is cooler. And we're talking, it literally was 3 minutes of darkness. And then when the sun started coming out, it's like, whoa, like you could feel the heat, And I don't think I talked about this, but I did on me and Lisa's show. Tennessee passed a law against chemtrails.
Mm-hmm.
And the first state, the only state that has passed this law. And it's very simple. It's like you can't put anything in the sky that will try to change the weather, that can affect the sun.
Bill Gates.
Very, very basic and simple law.
Beautiful, but unenforceable.
Yeah. They have airspace. They're going to have to get some SAM missiles. Yeah, if you think about it, might be kind of cool. If they were starting to take down, maybe not. That wouldn't be cool, would it?
That's interesting. The enforcement part is interesting because I didn't think about that. I just automatically thought, oh, everyone will or follow that, but they'll just do it during the night, I guess.
Well, or weather patterns, you're just going to blow back over Tennessee. So, the comment about that, that gives you, Bill Gates and a group of others that want to, put something up there to fight climate change. And, I just don't like the idea of putting anything up, let it naturally occur, whatever's going to happen. We know a volcano is going to blow its top eventually and cool us down. So that's inevitable.
Yes. There you go. That's a good point. That's a good
Lunar
point.
eclipse, apocalypse. I
saved that one specifically for us.
That's a good one. Oh, I love it. I love it.
FBI director is Andrew McCabe this morning on CNN finally admitted the FISA application he signed to spy on Trump's advisor Carter Page was wrong. Quote, there are many mistakes in that FISA, he confessed, and it was, quote, regrettable.
Regrettable. It's regrettable that you found out. You're making me admit to it.
Right. Unbelievable. And then again, he's just going to not even slap on the wrist.
But not just him. Every one of those effers that signed it should also be held accountable because they all knew.
So when you say accountable, what do you mean? Because that's the real question.
Or Obama, because it was under Obama.
There's a lady in Vietnam that is going to be put to death for.
I'm going to vote for Lisa.
$32 billion fraud. So I think something like that might be in order.
I would. That's That's treason. That's
treason.
That's
it's straight up treason.
There's already a remedy for treason.
Yes.
So still you have to go through courts. You have to go through all the right things, but that's literally treason, and that type of stuff happens. And where's the Epstein client list, by the way? And that's treasonous that we don't have that yet.
Right.
Because they do. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
They
also know who killed Kennedy and the other Kennedy, and 9/11.
I wonder what the flat earthers. I was wondering that myself. What the flat earthers would say about the eclipse.
Yep.
I haven't followed that one.
Oh, flat Earth. That's a great.
So what about Brazil and X?
Yes. What do you guys think about Brazil and X? Huh?
What's the latest? Last I heard was Elon was trying to get his employees of X in Brazil out of the country or safe, and then he was going to turn loose their files, shall we say. We know it's basically government being what it does, suppressing its people, suppressing knowledge, suppressing truth. Look over here, don't look over there. That's essentially what it was all about, and Elon was fighting against that. So kudos for Elon for doing it.
He definitely comes out sometimes for a side that's being censored. Other times not so much. I don't know why. Why is that? Why is that?
Maybe
by the way,
pick his battle.
Can I say?
Maybe he picks his battles. Maybe he picks his help.
He picks his battles. Somebody picks his battles.
Yeah, or maybe somebody picks his battle.
He's like, you can say whatever you want about the Brazilians, Elon. We don't give a shit. It's like, oh, but what about this? Is like, what?
Okay. Mike Bin said that is kind of the test case in Brazil for what will happen here, and that's really a CIA op, psyop over there in Brazil.
Of course it is.
To fight back. But see, Elon, look how much money Elon gets from government contracts. So who does he really beholden to? That's weird. That's a weird picture right there.
I thought it was a British thing. I don't know. I assumed that you might have it with toast, in the morning.
Yeah, Reese's
right? Isn't that what you eat?
I used to really like Campbell Soup's bean with bacon soup out of the can.
Really? Were you a kid?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Now there's a whole series of like goy slop memes that somebody
Goy-
photoshops that are freaking just crazy. Because when I first saw them, I was like, "What the hell is that?" And as it turns out, it's all like fake food. That's kind of there's one of them that's just a great big ball of stew or soup or something. And I can't remember what it's branded as, but you're supposed to unwrap it and throw it in a pot. It's just disgusting stuff. It's so funny.
In our
Um,
household, we'd say, "Just ain't right."
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Man, I don't know. There's definitely some good stuff out recently. So, oh, here, this is not. This is in fact the opposite of a current event. But what do you guys think of this? I mean, the fact that medieval peasants had better lives than we do.
Because they outnumber us. They knew that. Pitchforks were powerful back then.
Yeah, I guess so. Yep. They don't have
But you know what?
ICBMs
Just
or
because they
F-15s.
had 150 days off didn't mean that they had a lot of extra free time.
What do you
They
think?
still had to plow their own fields to feed themselves.
Yeah, I
or
was thinking
homes
that
or
too.
whatever.
I think though it wasn't that they didn't want them to revolt. Number one, they already also knew they had a rough life and a lot of kids, right? That
Mhm.
supposedly a lot of their time that was holiday and it was still voluntary, but probably very social pressure that you went and worked on that church that they've been building for 800 years, right? And that's really literally how those churches got built. That
Sure.
these people that were farmers it's like, oh, it's Saint whatever day, and they would go and like lift some bricks up, and they also fed them watered down wine.
Yeah, beer.
Because or watered down beer, depending on how far south you were and or north you were. And anyway, it's interesting stuff, right?
So what do you think? You're gonna overthrow the government with pitchforks and your longbows? No, you need trebuchets and swords.
Yeah, I mean, King,
Crossbows.
what's his name was telling people, it's like, oh, you'll never take down with a pitchfork. We have trebuchets, right? It's like we hear this now that
You need F-15s.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what did Biden say?
Yeah.
what are you saying? I mean, anyway, weird stuff. This one's a strange one. Very strange. And this is all the, I don't know, look this one up. 23rd of September 2017. They blocked out part of the sky on, I think it was on either NASA or Google had it blacked out on most of the wavelengths. It's very strange. Anyway, whatever.
Huh. What is ours?
Here. You look at bull market stuff. I don't know what you guys think there. Oh, this is okay. Flashback to the early discussion of anonymous internet. This is precisely the thing, and I think, and one real thing, at least in the past decade or so, has been the fact that cancel culture was predominantly a left to right thing, right? That and it would you could classify that certain subjects would get you canceled, and Ben Shapiro's one of them that was trying to call out Tucker Carlson for just asking a question. You can look up that whole rant that he did. But this is the point that I was like, oh, you want me to say something so that you can cancel me, throw me in prison, steal my, take my job away from me, or harm my family one way or another. That's why you want me to say stuff, and that's why anonymous posting is so important, frankly, because that still exists, and it's not just now directed at the right. And my hope is that the left and the right, especially the youthful left and youthful right, because both of the older on the left and the right are corrupt as hell. And it's turning away from left and right opposed, and it's frankly all geared towards well, I'm going to say Zionism or Israel or whatever else. The fact that the right wing in America just wants to give all of our money to them, and I think that the left and the right are going to join up with AI, and the game's going to be done. And it's just going to be okay. We don't give a shit about those. I don't care about those other countries. We just want to live in peace and freedom. You know, I want my family to be able to just live, right?
Yeah. That's
So.
like Doug Casey says, game over at that point.
Yep.
Maybe this election, it's game over.
Maybe.
You know? MTG sure had a lot to say about the Speaker of the House. Oh my God!
What was that? I did not hear any of that.
I didn't hear that either.
Yeah, she was interviewed on by Tucker Carlson, and said, you know, when you look at what he voted for, who he was, you know, he's a conservative from Louisiana, and now he's flip-flopped, and his whole focus is funding Ukraine. What changed? Obviously, it would appear that, you know, someone has pictures or something over him. They're out of extortion, because he's changed his view, and he's all about funding Ukraine, and he's switched his values, his positions, especially on the vote for the budget, and how he was doing it so that it wouldn't call certain things to a vote on the House floor. So MTG says he's out. He's got to go. You got to take him out.
What's his name? Is that
Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia?
But she was talking about Mike Johnson, right?
Yes.
He's a horrible. He was already owned when he came in. It's like, it was so. What was his first act as speaker? Yeah, look it up. It's like, okay,
yeah,
that's what.
Well, that was her point. Was prior to him becoming speaker, it appeared that he wasn't that. Yeah, once he became speakers, when he flipped.
That's what they always do.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, see, speaking of which, I have a bunch of things that I can't share, and then some that I'm, you know, it's like, well, I think this is objective enough that how are we allowed to send them money if they have nukes? I don't know. Whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah. I only keep it up for a little while.
Yeah.
Czar 15 in the chat's right. We outnumber them. We just don't rise up or unite together.
Weird. That's
What's
weird.
that? I don't even know what this is. I've seen it so many times that I saved it.
Eyes are like staying in the same place or something.
Stay in the center.
The eyes are identical. Something about
No,
eyes
they're monsters.
Are they monsters?
You're not seeing the monsters?
I can't. Maybe by peripheral. Maybe.
Oh, you're supposed to look at the cross. I'm sorry.
And then they're monsters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is it? Maybe it's just that they take one ugly celebrity and one good-looking celebrity. Is that what it is?
That is weird. No, Joe. Keep your eye on the cross, and they turn into demons or something.
Yeah, they're like a caricature.
That's wild.
That is weird.
Oh yeah, that is weird. They're all twisted, weird faces.
Yeah.
Yep, it's our mind telling us something that we're supposed to know naturally that we just have become.
So there was an article that, or not an article, a news thing that this guy it's a new thing that people are starting to see these demon faces. It was like on local news or whatever, that this guy, and they showed like the faces all stretched out and flat back heads, and I don't know, it was really wild.
This one is one of my favorite ones. So can you guys do this one? You have to stare at the damn it, I can't see it. Stupid thing. Concentrate on a dot for 15 seconds, and the horse will change color for your mood. So okay, so you guys count it down. All right. Tell me when it's about 15 seconds, and then figure out what color it changed to.
That's terrible.
All right, tell me when you guys done. That's probably enough time. So what color did it change to? Anyway.
Mine didn't change, so I must be retarded.
Yeah, I didn't change either.
I didn't know retarded was a
I thought that
movie.
was hilarious. It's just stupid. I loved it. So, Burger King Jesus.
Say gullible instead of.
Tucker had a couple of very interesting ones. Lisa shared one video that we don't know who it is yet, but was talking about how their firm essentially will trade young plasma. He did say he
Yeah,
said
he said
plasma,
plasma.
but you know he
But
went.
then when
we
he
were
was
all
describing it, he said, my dad was worried he was losing his mind at 70. And
Yep.
so he said, I got a liter of blood from my son and took it. And then he said, and then I gave a liter of my blood to my dad, is what he said. So he said plasma on one thing, but then he literally said blood on the other one.
Were these blood transfusions?
Nope, just well, I don't know. I don't know if
didn't
it's
hear that.
transfusion. I don't know if it's the full, but it's just like giving someone a liter of blood, essentially, right?
That's what he said.
So yeah, I don't know. And then he also had one on a Lutheran minister, worth watching. I've only watched a third of it so far in Palestine because it's just a good eye-opening angle on what's going on over there and how Americans, both through our government, but also personally, are financing a lot of that murder that's happening. So pretty bad, right? In the end. So
Lisa, in the private chat, what was the USTY U.S. Treasury tokens?
I don't know. Someone had sent me this. And
where's that? I have it
said that you can see where U.S. treasuries are being tokenized right now.
Yeah.
And that's what they shared.
Earn 5%. There are two asterisks. There are two asterisks. What are the two asterisks? One of them. Well, that's only one. Why is that? Indicative yields only before fees, costs, and expenses. It's only one asterisk though. So where's the double?
I don't know.
Oh, guys, they have a failure here. Who is this? Let's see here. Resources, FAQ or contact. Let's look at contact us first. Okay, it's just a form. They're anonymous. Nobody trusts an anonymous bank. Who's running this bank? It's so funny.
Do I need to hold my U.S. tokens in a wallet? I don't know. You know, from what I've heard, no one's buying treasuries. So, you know, the U.S. is in a lot of trouble.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think this is a legitimate U.S. function.
Oh, here's another current event.
Oh,
yeah. It happens frequently, to be honest with you. This is not.
I wish that modern culture had it wouldn't have to be the same thing, but something to give us the same meaning of what an omen would have been 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. I think we need that as you know, because I do think the natural world.
Well, the cicadas are coming.
They are. I saw that.
Yeah.
Earlier, right? So.
Billions of cicadas are going to be hatching. The 13-year and the 17-year cicadas and the annual cicadas all at once. That starts like mid-May or beginning of May.
You know, growing up in Kansas, they were here every year, so I've never seen anything different. They were just here every year, and they're loud as hell in the summer.
Yeah, but this is different because it's not just those
every 200 years.
Every year.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't believe it's going to be any different. I've never, because every time it's been the 17-year cycle, it's always been like, oh, you must have to be in Ohio or something for that, or Pennsylvania.
I knew about the 17-year.
There's a map.
These are 200-year ones.
Yeah,
they're hiring for 200.
They're going to be old. They're going to be boomer cicadas are coming in. I'm sorry.
Having said that,
we'll get back to what you just said about people would get an omen.
Yeah,
and I mean that's every 200 years. A plague of locusts, basically.
Oh, yeah.
When you say it that way. So,
solar eclipse, second solar eclipse in America.
The eclipse with the dragon comet.
Yes,
and also
Mother of Dragons
there's an earthquake in New Jersey. I grew up there. That was the thing. We don't have that. That's not a real thing. Earthquakes in New Jersey, and then they said, but there'll be lots of aftershocks for up to days, weeks, even years. I'm like, how do you have an aftershock years later? It would just be another earthquake. It'd be a new.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
would be another earthquake.
I mean, 10 years ago, this was an aftershock from that thing that happened before you were born, son.
I could be wrong, but an aftershock is defined as an earthquake at the exact same location is an aftershock. In other words, still settling. But I could be wrong. I don't. It's been a
Yeah,
long time since
you're
I had
probably right.
geology in college.
Man, I don't know. Yeah, Mother of Dragons. And by the way,
Cool.
I attribute it's Year of the Dragon as well. There's a whole bunch of crazy stuff this
Wood
year.
dragon.
So who
The
knows?
wood dragon.
Yes, that's right. That is right. That is correct.
Isn't that crazy?
Earthquake.
Never forget.
Smaller in magnitude and occur in the same
Oh,
main earthquake. They are
and Steve Narioff is suing the U.S. government.
unless they signal the potential
Oh,
for
is
a
he?
larger earthquake to
Which
follow.
which part of
By
the
the
U.S.
way,
government?
you
Which
have a
U.S.
new
government?
Oh, I have all the details. Hold on.
Well, you look that up. By the way, insect population is down significantly. So maybe because it's down, the cicada thing won't be as many as we would have had insect population been.
Oh, here's the other one. This is the city where the two they crossed. At least the last two, the most recent two. And look at their logo. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
So he's breaking open the Federal Reserve. He
Oh boy, they're gonna. Oh, I hope, man.
on Joseph Lubin on behalf of the Ethereum set up a meeting with the Fed Reserve in late 2014, and then Steve does a whole video talking about it.
He also did the obviously the O'Keefe thing, right? Which
Yes,
was
this is part of that. O'Keefe is following
I have to think that's
what he's
important.
doing.
Wow. I'm like, okay, I'm looking at. I basically have to skim through some of these memes to make sure it doesn't have certain things in it, right? So, because I save them.
Sure.
I save them, and sometimes they have stuff in them. So when
Understood.
Google, CIA, NSA, whoever's looking at my photos album, just know it's like I'm just saving them for posterity. And I'll tell you, I used to not save ones. And it's like, oh, that's a little bit much. But then I'd always want, it's like, oh, I wish I had that just to show somebody that's really a thing that other people think the same thing they've just told me, right? So I now just save all of them, almost all. There's some of them I don't save, of course. But
Czar 15 says earthquakes happen everywhere. Remember Pangea. Valid point.
Yeah, they do. They happen everywhere. I don't know. I mean, I don't. That's what I was saying. The reasoning side of me wants to say, well, I mean, it's all science. You can reason why stuff happens, but the interesting side of me, sometimes those things are well beyond our understanding. And as any scientist would say, most things are beyond our understanding. So, to rule it out is like, that's not science. Like,
no, it's not. Science is settled.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, right? Man. It's like this one. This one, I don't even know why I caught this one, but this is I can't zoom in enough on it. It's McMartin preschool photo. It's like they really had tunnels under that place. I'm like, what?
Here's a video of children dancing at Comet Pizza and an adult party.
Oh, yeah. I don't, man. You trying to get us banned?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no.
International Criminal Court. This is the whole thing. Is America first, but Israel firster.
Israel firster?
I don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get it, guys. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm still like,
I've come to a realization on this.
Yeah.
That I think I don't agree, but I think that all the kids, all the women, all the children, everybody, they gotta die. It's like we'll talk about our system. It's too broken. You can't fix it.
Yep.
Because even though, like, you look at and Elon Musk said something that was like, just because you're the one that's hurt or damaged or it doesn't mean you're right or you're moral. And the Palestinians, they really they want to do the same things that Israel is doing, They just don't have the power. So
You
it's
think?
tit for
I don't
tat.
believe that. Yeah, I don't believe that.
Dude, that's what they taught. That's what their children are taught in school.
That's what we're told their children are taught. Do you think you're told the truth, Sean? I don't think
I
a
mean,
damn
that's what
thing.
the children say.
I used to be.
That's what the kids say on like independent, media when they talk to kids, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, it's they're evil, they're monsters," just the same stuff like the Hitler Youth would say. I think they hate each other so much. I don't know if it could ever get worked out. It's like when you were talking to Lee, you're like, just get it over with.
If you have a couple from Bronx coming in to get beach property now, guess what? That's pretty easy to see which side is in the wrong there, right? Because a couple from Bronx already has a house over
they're
here.
in the right. They're absolutely wrong, but I don't think it'll ever be fixed. I think it just will go back and forth, like it has forever.
Well, I tell you what would fix it, Sean, is to stop sending them money, and it'll take care of itself. Because it's like if whatever natural, all that fighting would stop, because all of a sudden they wouldn't have a bunch of freaking missiles to go kill little kids with.
Well, yeah, but I think it needs to be. I think it needs to be one or the other. Either you do that, all the Arab states come together and try to fight Israel, and either God stops them or not, or all the Palestinians are done. It's genocide, and Israel takes over everything, and then they're a dick. I don't see it working. In our lives, we've only seen it get worse and worse and worse. And now, what is it? The new chant is they want no peace. They want 48. So they want it like they're literally what they want is to go back to before Israel was a state. They hate each other so much. I don't see how it's going to change.
Yeah, why does there need to be a state there? I mean, why aren't they living where they lived before? Right? Or why don't they live there in peace? Why don't they buy property and just live there? Why do you need a state that has nuclear weapons and that has open air prisons?
Bottom line is war is a business, and
Yes.
human frailty is going to fight for power, control, greed, and corruption is going to be the norm at the powers at the top. Your previous meme that had all the clowns, on the House floor. Well, that's the true in parliaments all around the world, and because of that nature of corruption, power, and greed, government is evil, and government being evil is going to prey upon the weak, and it's going to always be that way, unfortunately, unless we have a great solar eclipse.
Good men do
wipe it
nothing.
out.
Yeah, if good men do nothing, then yes, it will stay that way. But that's where like being the conscientious objector in many things, if we want to say stop funding them, which I know this is really frustrating because we think, well, we can just vote with our dollars. We can stop paying taxes. We can stop, supporting it. But then they just go print more.
Yeah.
And have their little magic show.
Why is that? Why
treasuries
is that?
And
that's why that is the key to it all. They use that money to separate us from a millions of other issues.
Divided.
It's like, oh, I'm on this. I'm pro-abortion. It's like every single thing is geared to keep us away from the one thing that matters on any of it,
right?
Which is unlimited money printing, dollar printing.
Speaking of abortions, I talked about months ago that the Church of Satan was paying for people's abortions if they agreed to do some rituals, during it. But they've actually started opening up Church of Satan abortion clinics.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go through its actual sacrifice, but they're doing it in states that are going to ban abortion and saying it's a religious exemption.
We need our own religion and blockchain world.
They're not hiding. There's no hiding anymore. Everything's out, just laid out right in public.
Yep. Yeah. It's beginning. I mean, I don't know. I think there's enough. There's so much crazy stuff that's coming out. I think it's You know, there things are going to be different in 5 years, way different in 5 years. So
Oh,
It's
wow.
really coming to a big fork in the road, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the AI or general AI and people waking up.
Yeah.
More people taking the red pill,
Yep.
going back to the movie The Matrix and realizing that, hey, yeah, that it is a big question. How many will rise up and how many, I think this April 15th, which is almost here, is going to, like in America, that's when we pay our federal taxes, right? Well, maybe not this one, but the next one, a lot more people are going to probably rise up and say, wait a minute, I'm tired of my money's going this way. And people
Yeah.
are rising up around the world and saying,
I don't know.
no, I'm going to
Seeming-
farm, and the government's not going to tell me what I can or cannot do to farm and feed the planet.
And guess what? It is somewhat of a natural thing that when you understand that your tax dollars, your government's money is funding the continuous disembowelment of children, and you're seeing these every day. Anybody who's watching, anybody who's like of their hands over their eyes is seeing that. If you're on Twitter, on X, and it's kind of after a while, it's like, okay, screw this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I've seen so many dead people on X, and like I said, kids, so many dead kids. It's just insane.
Yep.
It's horrible.
Yep.
Ukraine is just about done too. So I don't know what's going to happen there.
Jeez.
I saw something with Putin.
Well, then they'll kick up the
Blew my
Taiwan
mind.
thing.
Putin was talking about going to war with the U.S. or with NATO, and he said the U.S. spends almost 40% of the world's, all of the countries' budgets on military. That's what we spend on military.
Yeah.
40, like it's over 30%. And Russia spends 3.5%. He's like, it's not, you can't compare us. Why would we go to war with NATO when, they have so much money
Right.
that they put into this, and we put in, 3.5%.
And day one, they didn't even send a large enough contingency, to take Ukraine and to hold Ukraine. They never even sent that many troops into, on day one to take it. So, but neither here nor there. Unfortunately, my feeling is that's on the other side of the world. I don't want any part of it, and I don't want to fund it, and I don't want to fund any war. Let me be. Let me live my life and my family, as a family, and let us do what we wish to do and have a peaceful resolution to all of this. You fight your wars. Just stay out of my business.
Yep. Okay. So we have nine-ish minutes left. Who wants to go first? I'm going to pull up the comment stuff at the end here. What is going on this week, Lisa?
So we are still selling tickets for the Team Mighty event. We'll be fundraising to help a family that is having to travel out of state for treatment for their son for cancer. And his name's Mighty Miller, and he's an amazing little boy. And so if you guys can help that way, we'll also have a live online auction on April 20th that people can participate in. If you aren't able to physically be here, but Westwood's coming down, and we're going to do a happy hour meetup on Friday, the 19th here in my town in Edmond, Oklahoma. And then Saturday will be the big party celebrating Mighty Mia and supporting Mighty Miller.
Right on.
And my mom will be here at WBRT next week.
Yes. So anybody wants to invite anybody who is a grandmother, it is grandma, right? Next week, how do we get grandma to start using blockchain? So welcome if anybody wants to bring their grandmother on, or a grandmother, or their mother who might be a grandmother.
Yeah.
Or their spouse who might be a grandmother even. So
I'll find a chicken marrier so I can,
there you go.
have a grandma.
Right on. Let's see here. Sean, what's going on this week?
Usual stuff. Check out to Sean. Check me and Lisa out on Tuesdays with Truth Tuesday. That's about it.
Right on.
We need to talk about Assange.
Oh, shoot.
Is there an update?
I don't even know what's going on.
Oh,
with
are we
that.
3 weeks out?
Yeah.
A weekly put out
Next
a bunch of stuff on it.
That's next week. We'll see what Lisa's mom thinks about Assange too. Prep her. Get her ready.
Oh, she's ready.
I am.
Hey, everybody. Well, listen, if you want to catch me, find me, go to DEN.SOCIal. That's probably the best place to find me.
There you go.
That's really everything. I would like to encourage everyone to prepare. You never know. Get your 30, 60, 90 days worth of food put away, water figured out, whatever. Prepare. You never know. You never know.
Yep. Always be ready. Always be ready.
DEN.SOCIal.
DEN.SOCIal, right?
There's a
and
prepper lair, right? On
What's that?
DEN.SOCIal. You can check it out. Get good ideas.
Yes. And then for me, go and watch the Kiff's crypto thing. I kept going back and forth to get on his show, and so I actually got to talk quite a bit about Dracaria and what's coming, and he asked a lot of good questions there, and then also he did ask me about Rainmaker Network as well, which is it's a partner of Dragon Chain for a while, and a bunch of really good guys, really exciting project. So you'll probably see a lot of stuff coming out about it in the coming weeks. Launch is pretty soon, and again, pretty exciting project. And next week, how do we get Grandma to start using blockchain? Make sure you get in there and leave a blockchain related question or suggestions for Grandma. And
I think Flo wanted to come on for that show too.
Who did?
I think Florian.
That would be awesome. Yeah, that'd be
Anyone.
great. He was actually,
He was great.
yeah. I mean, the Swiss have. Do you guys think it's the best cheese, or is it the second or third best cheese? I should say, chocolate. Chocolate matters more than cheese.
Chocolate. There you go.
I like Swiss cheese. I think that's my favorite. But
Really?
I make a baked brie that everybody goes insane for.
What's the other hard cheese they make? I like it.
Camembert.
No, I think that's English, isn't it?
Sounds-
There's one. It's like the hard cheese, and it's
Apparently, Sweden is making not cheese, but bomb shelters. They are investing 385 million kroner, which is $36 million, strengthening its bomb shelters, emergency services, and civil defense after warning the country to prepare for war.
but that's Sweden because they're
Sweden,
right
oh,
over
yeah.
there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now Switzerland joined
We
NATO.
used
though, which is
Switzerland. Yeah,
disappointing.
Switzerland joined NATO.
I'm disappointed. I was like, I wanted to move there for a while because you could have a gun, and they had limited government with their cantors or whatever they are, like the regions. I always kind of wanted to move there, but then people on Reddit told me, we don't want your type here who want to have guns. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Never mind. I won't go there. Anyway, that's it though. So make sure you share the episode. Make sure you like it. But the more people watch it, the more lot all of our hosts and all of our topic contributor will get. I think you get one credit though, but you're going to get a lot. And I mean, that's why it was so high, because it wasn't split much, right? But anyway, there were two this week, right? I think maybe was it all you? It was all you, maybe.
I think it was all me.
Oh man, maybe it was so super happy that had Ala Dita on it. So okay,
Thanks to everyone in chat.
Comments. What's that?
Thanks to everyone in chat. And
Yes,
Lisa, you got
thanks.
a point?
I'll try to be better, especially once we get the memes. It's hard because the stupid thing, whenever I show something, then it'll hide like Sean's face or something, right? So if I do something like this, it's like, oh, then Sean's covered up. It's like, why is it that way? That's ridiculous. It moves out of the way if it's like this, right?
Oh yeah,
It's
interesting.
pathetic. I haven't had a chance. I think you can make custom alignments,
Move
and
it
always be
the other
strong.
side.
I don't know. Anyway, they need to fix that. And let's see here. I'll exit. I'm gonna do if you guys are okay with it, the Dracaria thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And okay, so we'll just see you guys on the other side. Talk to you soon. Thank you.